when you talk about fulfillment, getting up every day, being fulfilled, like, dude, I got the best job in the world. I wasn't a great leader when I first started my business, and everybody, when they feel heard, appreciated, validated, empowered, they show up better.
And today's episode got an amazing guest I'm going to intro in a sec, guys, but I think this is really cool because this individual years ago on YouTube saw an ad that he clicked, that he found a mentor, that he launched his own business that completely changed his life. You fast forward to today, he has 2 businesses, and he's definitely got a heart and a passion. We'll talk about mental health on this episode. We'll talk about leadership. We'll talk about business. We'll talk about adversity. But welcome to the show, Chris Newman.
Than's my brother.
Dude, it's so good to have you here.
Let's get after it.
Yeah, man, you ready to have some fun?
Absolutely.
Let's go. So, first question. Da-na-na-na.
First question is always the hardest, right?
Yeah. What do you value most in life?
Showing up for people. It started early on in my childhood. My parents got divorced, and every time something in my life has came to fruition or something great happened, it was because someone showed up for me in some type of way. And I'm around a lot of people that I think are looking for someone at times, whether that's in business or with friends or whatever. And I just take that very seriously. And it gives me a sense of purpose that every day I wake up, I got to show up for someone, whether it's employees, my brother, my mom, my dad, people in the community. And so that alone just fuels me. And kind of everything I do is about that.
Yeah. And thank you for showing up here in San Diego to record this podcast. Man. Where'd you fly in from?
Buffalo, New York.
All the way from New York. Dang, that's pretty far, man. How long did it take you to get here?
5.5 hours.
That's so cool, man. I feel so honored to have incredible guys like you that are willing to fly in to be on the show. I don't take that lightly, know that. I think it's so cool that you talked about showing up, so what you value most. Years ago, I had a mentor in my life who told me, Cody, 50% of all success in your life is just showing up. And then the other 50% I came up with later. I was like, all right, well, that's 50%. What's the other 50%? And for me, at least, it's never given up. And I believe that if you show up and you never give up, you can do anything.
People can get into the technical pieces of running a business or doing anything, or they get so obsessed with everything that needs to happen. I heard someone, Dr. Jeff Spencer, told me this one time, says it often, focus on the 1 or 2 things that matter. That's part of it. When you show up and you just put in the consistent work and you don't stop, you're going to continue to make progress. I'm a big believer that you don't really focus on the destination, focus on the pursuit, because the destination is always going to change, right? Like,
and if you just focus on the destination too, when you hit it, most people get depressed and sad and everything falls apart if they don't have a moving target.
Exactly. And you also don't adopt, the growth mindset or the principles that ultimately probably got you there, right? Because you see like, oh, this is my goal in a year from now. Well, okay, but in 6 months ago or 6 months down the road, my target's going to change and new work's going to have to go into it. And so it's constantly like reevaluating those things.
Yeah. I love that, man. So I introed you on the show and I talked about like the ad because I remember you bringing that up, and I know Doug and I know your story, and it's really cool, man. But for those that from the beginning of this podcast are like, what do you mean you clicked on an ad, found a mentor, and changed your life? Give us the quick version. Because you weren't in entrepreneurship before that, were you?
No, I was doing medical sales, selling respiratory equipment.
Were you tired of it?
Yeah, it was terrible.
And you wanted more?
Yeah, I was looking. I was searching. So I was searching hard.
It was a good time for you. So you see this ad. Tell us about it.
Well,
I'm just picturing Doug in my face.
It's Douglas James wearing his white V-neck shirt, with the haircut, same as he is today. He was on the podcast a month ago. Same outfit. Yeah. That's just what he does. That's Dougie. Saw a YouTube ad promoting an online business, right? Doing local lead generation for local small businesses, your mom and pop plumbers, dentists, roofers, chiropractors, stuff like that. And I was like, well, that makes sense, right? Every small business needs customers. And if all these people are doing it, why can't I? I'm going to have to learn a skill. I know that, but, I'm young enough at the time. I was back in 2018, so I was 23 years old. I'm not the most tech-savvy person. I'm still not. I tell my employees and my clients that, actually. But, yeah, so I jumped into his course, spent all the money I had, and I was like, every time I met an entrepreneur prior to that, it always started with like you took a leap somewhere.
Right.
Luckily, I was living with a family friend of mine who she motivated the hell out of me. She's like, go for it. I got you. And I think that was her showing up, and still to this day, one of my best friends. And she's been tremendous. She's incredible. I
That's
thank
so
her
cool,
every
man,
day.
because not everybody has that. And some people, they'll want to take the leap. They'll go to the people around them because they just want somebody to validate it or confirm it. Yep. And the moment they shoot down the dream, the passion, the desire that's risky and not safe, a lot of people will never do it. Yeah. I didn't have people around me that were like, you should totally do that. And I had to pay to get around that. I had to get into groups, masterminds. Yeah. My family thought I was crazy, bro, to go for entrepreneurship, business, public speaking, motivational speaking, all that. I was just too stubborn to listen.
I have found that most people that we're surrounded by don't get it. They don't think the way we supposedly think in a lot of aspects. And so there's going to come a point in time. That point came in 2013 for me, and if you could probably reflect on yours. You reach a point where you're like, I want something different. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know if I want to be selling marketing services or I want to be being a speaker. Who knows? Be a pro. Who friggin' knows, man?
But I'm not doing what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah, and I'm like, screw this, man. I'm done. My dad had a small kitchen bathroom modeling company, so I saw a little glimpse of entrepreneurship, and I saw the freedom it gave him, financial security to some degree. And I was like, I want more of that, but I'm going to 10X that thing.
Come on. All right, so you see this ad. Yeah. You spend all your money.
Yep.
She's
$3,500.
$3,500, yep. And you're all in, and then what, bro?
And then I learned my first lesson. I stopped. So I did this course for about 4 months, and I learned a bunch of stuff. Went for it, didn't get anywhere. I was like, well, this ain't for me. Mm-hmm. I gave up. I was still doing my medical sales job. I did that for about 8 more months, and I got fed up again the second time. I said, let's revisit this. Let's take a harder look. Thankfully, I did. And I met Evan Dawson will be on this podcast one day. I can guarantee you. He's a special human being. One of my
the intro.
Well, huh?
Make the intro. We'll get him on.
He's an incredible human being, and he came in at the same time as I did into the program. We kind of meshed, started talking. We followed each other. He motivated me, and again, when we think about people you look up to and for motivation, I was broke, dude. I had nowhere to turn. My back was kind of against the wall. I was making $3,000 a month doing some medical sales job. So I went after it again, and my break came when my first client was my grandma's chiropractor, and I still remember I was shaking in my boots. She had an appointment. I asked to go with her. I sat in the office with her while she was getting her back done, and I started small talking with this chiropractor. When I was a client, he was with me for 2.5 years.
Wow, and
that just gave me the confidence that someone could give me. He wrote me a check for $3,500. My whole month's pay, he did it like that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right.
And every entrepreneur, everyone that goes for it, that moment's so critical. The first moment you make money doing what you wanted to do. Dude, I still remember the first time I made $500. I got paid. Actually, I'll even go smaller now. I just got to share this. I always want to get paid for public speaking. Someone wrote me an $80 check to keynote.
That's great.
A network marketing event with 80 people. Bro, it didn't matter. It could have been 2 cents. It was a wrap then.
Yep. And then it just unleashes.
And then it's like, I can do this again and again and again.
For sure. And after I landed him, I went nuts. I was prospecting every single chiropractor in this country heard of me. I swear. I was going after it. And then from there on out, built the business up and learned so many lessons, but it's been an incredible journey, and it's opened so many doors. And then, funny enough, I circled back with Doug. 2.5 years later, we did an interview. He interviews his successful students, right? Which I think he still does this today, and he still does it today, and I love that part about it. But did an interview, made $10,000 a month consistently, right? So he interviews you, and I was just blessed, man. You're a kid from Buffalo, New York, making 23 years old, 24 at the time, making $10,000 a month, it's
uncommon.
I was like, this is dope, right? Does the interview, and I told him, I don't really love marketing for chiropractors, but what I want to do is I want to coach people. And that was the passion. Running Facebook or Google ads for local businesses doesn't get me excited,
right?
Per se. But helping people do what I just did, right? A 24-year-old kid from Buffalo, New York, or a mom that's got 3 kids, grinding at the hospital, can do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to coach people like that, and I wanted to improve their lives. And that's where the passion of showing up for people, delivering, leveling up people's lives, that's when everything kind of changed for me. And it's been amazing ever since I started doing that.
Dude, that's powerful. Thanks for sharing. And I think a few things to like note in that's so cool is like the journey you had to take to even get to reaching that 10K a month, right? Like I think so often we just see the highlight reel of people and, I started doing this and I made millions of dollars, you do this, and it's like, it's so over marketed just to get people to click and to spend money. And like, I get it. I'm a marketer, but at the same time, I really am big on like, I want people to understand the journey it takes for people to get where they went. And it's like, Chris, I look at you and it's like, you were tired of being where you were at. You saw something at the right time. I believe that was God that showed you an opportunity. You were willing to take the leap, to invest, to go all in, to learn. You failed. Key component to this. Most of us do. I failed several times. You got fed up again. Yeah. You came back to it. You were nervous. You overcame your fears and doubts. You put yourself out there. You had a little bit of success. And then off of that little bit of success, you kept showing up and went all in. And then you grew your business. Then you got another door. This is how it happens too. People don't realize this, guys. Like when you go all in and you show up, like even for me, I just keep showing up in life and doors keep opening.
Yep.
Well, doors don't open. They show up. You got to open the door and walk in.
Get that shit down.
Yeah. And for you, a door opened with Doug, who's just amazing. Douglas has become a good friend of mine, and I love what he's built, and he's an amazing man and leader and mentor. And you got to move into a more of a passion position, helping with him. And so you've been doing that for how long?
3.5 years.
Coaching, educating people, teaching others how to build wealth through their own business.
Yep, through their own business. Yep.
And you do a lot in that, right? Like product development or something?
Yeah, so basically I'm operations with him. So any program or, fulfillment service we're rolling out, I have a hand in developing and kind of overseeing that with our team. Our team's grown significantly.
8-figure company, right?
Yeah, we're doing some pretty big numbers.
Well, I just want to it's not like we need to put the exact number. I want people to understand that here's this Buffalo, New York kid who clicks a YouTube ad, who's now helping run ops and coach and teach in an 8-figure company. Yeah. Why do you think you're in that position?
Blessed, man. I'm blessed. Someone took a chance on me. And funny part is when I came out with Douglas, the only program we had was the course that I bought into. 5 courses later, thousands of people we've allowed to start their business, help them scale it, live a better life. When you talk about fulfillment, getting up every day, being fulfilled, like, dude, I got the best job in the world.
That's so cool.
And what's great about that dynamic with him is he allows me to be an entrepreneur too and do what I want to do. And our whole team is a bunch of entrepreneurs. Every single person on our executive team owns a business. So that's a lot of collaboration that goes on. And we all can kind of be in our zone of genius. We'll still working towards the main goal, which is impacting people. And that's the message. That's why we've been able to do what we've done. But to go back to your original question, it was Doug believed in me. He gave me an opportunity. I didn't take it for granted. Worked my ass off. Just kept going.
Why do you think that he believed in you, took a risk on you, gave you an opportunity?
Yeah, man. It's funny because I think about that a lot through the past 4 years. Like, why me? Why me? There were students making more than $10,000 a month. There were students that I think could have been done the same job I could. I think it comes back to my willingness to put myself out there, tell them this is what I want to do, this is what I'm passionate about. Do you think there's synergy here? And then I think me and him are a lot alike, personality-wise. So I think that was
y'all are funny.
That was kind of that was good to have that piece.
I agree, though. I think the willingness to for one, you put in the work, bro. You wouldn't have even had the opportunity to have that conversation had you not grown your business 10K.
For sure.
There's a level of, all right, he gets it. He took the information. He implemented it. He got results. Then you were willing to tell somebody who had influence, had the power to make decisions, open doors for you. This is what I want to do.
That's exactly it. And the fact that it was, it's got to be God too, right, to some degree, because right at that time was right when he started to think, hey, I want to do more in this business. Then there's this young 24-year-old that's here to push him in a sense, right? And take that vision, build something out and see what happens. And I had the marketing background. I was making $10,000 a month, man. My bills were paid. I'm living in Buffalo, New York.
Well, I believe God creates a divine alignment for your assignment. And what I mean by that is if God's calling you in a direction, I believe that he will divinely align things. Like it's not serendipitous. There's serendipity and things like that. It's like, oh, wow, that at the same time Doug was thinking about expanding in this way, I happen to have my interview at this exact time, and I happen to bring this up, and it happened to be divine, and it happened to open more doors. So I definitely think God's hand's all over that, and it's been cool, man. So we'll move a little bit on to you did launch another business. Yeah. Tell us about the second business.
Yeah, so sales has always been my thing. I love the nature of sales. Communicating with people, building relationships. I love that. It's like networking. Right? Like there's an end product or service at the end of it, but it's like networking. I love it. So I started You Develop Sales Academy, where basically we recruit, train, and place high ticket salespeople for digital companies, coaches, consultants that are doing some big things. That business is like it's taught me so many lessons. Like I've learned more in the past 6 months from that business than I did in my entire marketing agency for the past 3.5 years. It's right at the right time.
Why do you think that is?
Because I think I'm at the point in my life now where I'm receptive. I'm looking not just straight ahead, but I have, kind of peek around the corner, know what's coming. Like I think I've just developed more of an understanding. I'm not trying to force things as much. I let things kind of flow. I think it's just maturity.
Yeah.
Age. Right now I have there's just an ease to life. When you don't force things, you let things come. And I think there's always going to be lessons. There's always going to be lessons. And so you have to be able to see the lesson and then let it sit for a little bit. You don't need to jump on it immediately. And I think with that comes space. When you have space, it allows you to execute, right? It allows you to actually turn that lesson into something, right? And not just keep learning the same lesson or seeing the same issue, right? And so this business has taught me that, and I think it's preparing me for the next thing, which is something that's going to be pretty remarkable. So.
Come on. What is one lesson you can share with us that you have learned in the last 6 months?
What got you to where you are now, you still have to do. People emphasize team. I need to delegate. But there's a reason why I got to where I am. And it's because I excelled in one thing, and that was selling and communicating with people. So if I try to delegate that, it's not going to be the same. And I learned from my marketing agency, team was everything. So I went into this business building a massive team. And I wasn't doing what I meant to do. And so,
front-end sales,
but more importantly, building relationships with the partners and these coaches and consultants. And I delegated that, and it hurt us for the first few months. So that was really big. So staying in your zone of genius, and you don't need to give that up. Like you can be the operator and technician at the same time. Like some people I just want to be a CEO. Dude, that's your ego, man.
Yeah.
That's your ego. What got you there? You probably love it in the first place. You're great at it. Keep doing it. There'll be a time and place. Don't rush it.
Yeah, dude, I definitely can relate to that in certain ways. My marketing company thrived because I'm very charismatic. I'm very good at building relationships. Sales always has come easy to me. I jumped in sales at a very young age, built a couple companies. So front-end sales and bringing clients in and managing relationships was always a natural thing that I've enjoyed doing. Yeah. Then I got into the weeds of everything else. And it's such a learning curve I've gone through. Now I've come full circle where luckily I do have a team where I'm all right, guys, I suck at all of this. So we've got people that are great at all those things. I'm going to go back to doing what I do best. And if you guys can make sure you handle everything else and I can show up every day and I can build relationships and drive revenue into the company, we're going to thrive. We're going to grow. And I love it. And I'm doing 7 sales calls a day again.
Well, you love it.
But I love it. Dude, I got the big whiteboard. I love going out there, marking how many calls I made. I'll mark the no-shows, how many sales I made, the MRR I produced.
The spreadsheets, all the nerdy stuff.
Yeah. I love when Monday comes around and I erase it and it goes back to 0 and it's let's go, baby. We booked 52 sales calls last month, all organic on social media. Dude, it's crazy. Just wait till we turn on ads. I'm excited, bro.
We just turned ours on 2 weeks ago.
Oh, we got to talk, bro. We'll talk. All right, so let's go into, so you built the sales company. You've done that. There was two things when I asked you before this interview. I said, is there anything on your heart that you feel called to talk about right now? There was two things that you said. One was mental health and one was leadership. And I'm not letting you get out of this interview without talking about both. So let's start with mental health. And I want to hear first, and I want the audience to hear why that's so important to you, and then let's dive into it.
It's everything. Mental health is such, it runs society. And it's impacted me from an early age. Majority of my family has mental health, struggles, and I've seen it firsthand impact. I think emotional intelligence ties into that, and I consider that one of my strengths. And so with mental health, people genuinely want something else, and they can't get it because something's holding them back. And that's not a skill. It's not like, oh, I don't know this or I can't learn this. They physically can't do it. And when you see people you love that genuinely want something better in their life and they can't get out of bed and they can't face those demons every day, you get perspective really quick. A lot of why I keep going, like, I get chill, but I want to keep going because not everyone has that opportunity. And the people that I care about the most, people that I love, a lot of them are impacted by mental health, and they look to me for inspiration, and they look for me to show them another way, right? I'm nothing special. I truly believe that, but I'm not going to stop because of them. So that's the short answer of that piece, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Well, it sounds like there are people that you love and care about that have been impacted by mental health. And that becomes a driving force for you, seeing that firsthand, knowing the effect that has, for one, to keep giving every day everything you got. And you also know that those people are watching you and that that's impacting you. And, it's interesting. We both have a mutual friend, George Epsichea, amazing man, works with you guys. And, George told me a long time ago, we were talking, I just moved to San Diego. I was really going all in on everything. And George and me were talking about, and he said, like, who suffers, Cody? Like, if you don't show up today, if you don't give up. I was exhausted. I've been going 100 miles per hour for 3 years in a row.
If you don't win, who loses?
Yeah. And it was like one of those days of like, bro, I don't know anymore. And he just looks at me and he's like, yeah, if you don't win, who loses? If you don't show up, who loses? We talked about that. And I'm like, man, you're right. And a lot of people are watching. Man, I come from a small country town in Michigan. And there's a lot of my friends that became addicted to drugs, settled, just didn't do anything with their life, that are watching every single day. They're on social media. They see my videos. They see my posts. And I get messages every single week from them. Thank you. You're inspiring me. This and that. And it's opened up ministry opportunities. I've led them to the Lord. I've talked to some of them in DMs, like small town, like, man, I want to start my own car detailing business. I'm like, you can totally do it. Just go do it.
Yeah.
And they do it. And then they send me a picture like years later, like, bro, my business, I got it started. I got a few cars. Then a year later, dude, I just made 6 figures this year. And it's just like,
that's why you do what you do.
That's why we
do
it.
When people reach out to you that know you from before you were this, right? Those people, when they recognize that growth and I can do it too. And it gives them, it unlocks something. Maybe it's as simple as someone's believing in them. Someone's showing them it's possible, right? We see all over the internet, all over Facebook, YouTube, these gurus with their Lamborghinis making millions of dollars. Yeah, that's dope, but they're not showing you the journey. So I think for a lot of these people in our hometowns that see the journey unfold literally over the course of 7, 8, 9 years of like, hey, I went to high school with this kid. I played baseball with this kid. I got drunk at a bar with this kid. Now he's here. Well, what happened, right? And that at least it gets them intrigued enough that I think forces them to say, I want more. That's step one. You have to say, I want more. And then action follows or doesn't. But step one, you have to acknowledge that you want more. Yeah. And I think with what we do, particularly with people, that you were just referencing, it's showing them that that's possible. And it starts a conversation.
And, dude, there's something powerful about, you hit on something key, because you can see the guys on YouTube and social media like Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas, like these guys. Sure. Those are just some examples. If you don't personally know them, it's really easy to go, oh, they're just lucky. But when it's the friend you had from high school that partied and did drugs or messed up or was around you from the same small town, now all of a sudden doing big things. And Chris isn't better than me, but he's doing it. Maybe I could do it too. I mean, bro, like, I was a kid whose dad was in prison. Like, I was the troublemaker. Story. I was the drug dealer. I started selling weed at 13 years old. Like, that was my title for a while. I was the party boy. I was the last kid in high school you thought would be successful. And then those same people watched me turn my life around, find Jesus Christ, build businesses. Now they see the podcast and all the media outlets and stuff, which is cool. Like, I enjoy it. And, man, it's just like, I'm speaking to you right now. If that's you, man, just know there's nothing special about me. And those of you that know me from past Cody, you know. I've had people even hate on me. Who do you think you are? You know, and it's like, bro, I'm no better than you, but I have dreams and I go for my dreams and I show up for them every single day. And there is somebody out there that you're inspiring, I'm inspiring, and if we continue to do that, the world, I believe, is a better place.
That's 100%. I couldn't agree more. You know, for me, it's family. Like, I want to inspire them. That's what really gets me going. Yeah. But for sure, there's definitely, you know, friends and people in my community that, you know, can do whatever the hell they want to do, right? And they can accomplish things that they want to accomplish. A lot of it's fear. A lot of people are looking for direction. They're looking for a mentor. They're looking for something. I was looking for something in 2018. I didn't think a YouTube ad would be that something, but here we are, right? So it's being open. You know, I just, funny enough, my first salesperson that I placed in my U-Develop Sales Academy was my best friend's brother, who was selling Geico insurance. And I did that intentionally because I wanted him, if he could do it, and there's nothing against him, I love him to death, but if he could do it, right? So it's giving people an opportunity, and it's also it's an inspiration. I still look to people for inspiration. It doesn't stop.
That anyone can do anything that they set their mind to if they want it bad enough?
Yes, I do. But they can't associate it with a timeline. That's the thing. People set arbitrary goals to arbitrary timelines, thinking like, I want to do this in X amount of time. Well, you've never done this in X amount of time, so you're probably going to set yourself up for failure.
Yeah, and you'll get discouraged along the way, then you'll quit.
For sure.
Yeah, that's good. That's powerful, man. We could riff on that for a while, but I wanted to hit on leadership. That's very important to you. Leadership is often a broad subject, and I want to know why leadership is important to you, Chris.
Because I think everybody that is successful, and I don't even want to say successful, I say high-performing people, right? Because success is different to everybody.
Yeah.
So high-performing people, they're usually great leaders of men and women. They lead people whether they know it or not. And typically, I have found that leadership is learned, right? A lot of people say, you know, leaders are born. I think everyone has the capability. But leading men and women towards something is something you learn. Leadership is something, without the proper leadership, things can go down the drain pretty quickly. But great leaders also can turn things around very quickly and lead to 8-figure companies, right? And inspire thousands of people to change their life. You know, so I've been on both sides of leadership. It's so obvious to me when I see success and when I see struggle is leadership. Yeah. It all ties back to leadership.
That's good, man. I love that. And you talked about high-performing people. I think high performers, they operate at such a level of excellence that's above average and mediocre that they're given the opportunity to lead because of that.
Yep.
But just because you're a high performer doesn't mean you're a good leader.
Correct.
For example, you can crush in sales, most high performer in the company, making more money than anyone else. And then to go around and be a sales manager, you could totally fail and flop at it and not instill success in anyone else because you don't know how to lead, you don't know how to mentor, you don't know how to educate, you don't know how to rally, activate. So I think, what do you think the correlation is between that, right? Because I've met both. I meet guys that are like, yeah, you're a crusher, you're a high performer, definitely. Terrible leader. And then I've met guys and I think it is learned, because even for me, the word leadership in young, like I started personally developing around like 16 years old, and I'm 29, so 13 years ago. And I think 7, even 5 years ago, I thought I was a good leader. And when you start to really learn what a leader is, I realized, oh my God, I am not a good leader. And it began this journey of, okay, God, how do I actually become a good leader? I'm a high performer.
Sure.
I can cast vision. I can get people to buy into it. But then there's a whole lot more that's required to lead these people, to get them to the objective, to rally towards it. And we go through a lot of bumps along the way. And sometimes I didn't know how to handle those bumps, or how to handle the people and how to be a leader to them in that. So I'm curious your thoughts around that. And you've stepped into that as a business owner as well.
Yeah, I wasn't a great leader when I first started my business, but now I feel like I'm pretty good at it. And I would say it's truly giving a shit about them. As a business owner and CEO, your business is top of mind all the time, 24/7, right? It doesn't stop. And when you're leading other people, empowering other people, trying to have them, better, follow your vision, right? You're leading with your ego is what a lot of people do. And when good leaders are able to have all of that still top of mind, but say, Cody, this is what I see in you, right? This is how you can develop, right? And they genuinely care about you.
Yeah.
That does a lot. It does a lot for people, because now you feel empowered. You feel special. You feel heard. Feel inspired. Well, when you're leading someone, those are kind of the qualities you want them to have, right?
Yeah.
And everybody, when they feel heard, appreciated, validated, empowered, they show up better. Inevitably, your vision will advance. Your business will grow. Your department will grow. Your sales will increase. Everything, because I did that with you.
That's so good.
Leadership, if you're like, just follow me, watch what I do.
Yeah.
Well, the way I sell is going to be different than the way you sell. Does that mean the way I sell sucks or the way you sell sucks? No, it's just a different way to do it. So leadership is also customizable.
Very true. I love how you talked about caring about people. I agree. And I believe in servant leadership, and that's gotten more popular over the coming years. I believe that CEOs serve their entire organization. Their organization doesn't serve them. The CEO is actually the greatest people builder, should be the greatest people builder.
Have you heard the John Wooden NBA analogy?
No.
NBA, mop, bucket analogy. And it basically is, he was willing to do anything in his company, in his community, in his team that anyone else wouldn't do. He would clean up the locker rooms, right? If there was a spill, he'd clean it up, throw out the trash. What that showed was, if I'm going to do it, so could you, and it empowered people.
Yeah.
And so sometimes CEOs think like, oh, this is a task I should delegate. Why? If you can do it, why don't you do it? Right? Or this is for someone else. I'm too good for that, or I shouldn't be, I should only do revenue generating activities, which there's truth to that to some degree. But when you're talking about leadership and empowering people to show up differently, I like that analogy, the mop bucket analogy.
Just think of practical though. You're a part of a company who maybe it's, a figure company, and the CEO is your boss, and he could just only strategically focus on revenue producing activities, not build relationship with you, not do anything like that. But you watch your CEO pour into you, believe in you, speak things into you, and you watch him take a trash out, wipe clean bathrooms. The level of respect that you have for that leader is like, oh my God, like this guy's a true leader.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't think he's better than me. He truly is someone I actually want to follow. I think that's powerful, man. And you began to instill that same culture into your companies?
Yeah, that's every time I hire somebody, I want them to feel like they are about to, like, I don't want them to look at me as the boss. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, I want people in my company that can buy into what I have for the vision of this company and where we're headed. But I want you to be the best version of yourselves while working for me.
Yeah.
Right? I want you to feel empowered. I want you to make more money. I want you to be able to take care of your family differently. I want you to show up differently. I don't want you to dread going to work every day. Like, I don't want that. There's too much of that in society. And not that everyone is an entrepreneur, not everyone's a business owner. There is a place for employees, right? That's what makes the economy go. But at the end of the day, I want you to be your best.
Yeah.
You know, and it starts from the top.
Yeah, I mean, I love the leader's one that knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. I will say, man, that's the one thing I think I've done better than anything else. I've definitely made mistakes in my business, but my team comes first. I pour into them. You know, like, I've grown so strong. We're like a family, like, with them, you know? Like, I know everything that's going on in their life. I support them, and if they need anything. And it's been cool, too, because I actually work with people I enjoy, like, working with. Yep. And they enjoy working with me. And it's like creates this culture of like, we're going to have fun doing this. We all feel supported. We do what is our highest and best use within the company. We're not doing something we feel like we shouldn't.
Sure.
And no matter what adversity we face, we know we'll get through it. And I think that that's been like a cool culture to build. I think it took me many years to figure out how to do. And being in rooms around guys that did it better than me and picking up and learning. But I think you're right, man. The moment I stopped caring about the bottom line and started caring about the people was the moment, like, the bottom line takes care of itself.
Yeah, like, my assistant, she lives in Buffalo, too. And, like, I play softball with her husband. You know, I'm at her, you know, baby girl's birthday party. Like, it's those types of things that I want to show up for her, you know, and that's what's important to her, you know, and that family-like atmosphere, you're right, directly correlates to the bottom line. When you put so much into somebody, that's a lot of time, that's all people want. They just want someone to believe in them, to validate them, to empower them to do more, right? To be, if they're an employee, to be a safety net for them, right? That they know that every day they're going to have a job, they're going to have a paycheck, they're, you know, the company they're working for is doing the right things. Like, that's all people want.
Yeah, and that's why, like, not everyone is cut out to be a business owner, because a business owner carries a lot more weight. You know, they are the one that create the job, the paycheck, the job security, the opportunity, like, all of that, and pour into them and put a lot of other people even before themselves. And I learned that early on. I think we're in an age right now where rapper used to be a buzzword. Now entrepreneur is.
Yes.
Like, entrepreneur has replaced rapper, and everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, which is cool. I think that's amazing. But I think a lot of people get into it and don't realize what it actually takes.
Wrong intentions.
Yeah, and now I'm starting to even like the word entrepreneur, business owner, solopreneur, like actually like looking into all that. I think most people become like solopreneurs, and then I think like they might graduate to business owner, but then I think entrepreneur is even a level beyond that, where you've really mastered business and you have multiple ventures and streams of income and your assets, your cash flow, and you buy more things and stuff. Like, there's levels to this game.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could call yourself, like, I was like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. And then I was like, oh, I'm a solopreneur. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, I'm a business owner. And it's like, well, I use the word entrepreneur still, but it's like, and I have a couple streams of income, but I meet guys that are real entrepreneurs that like I see, and it's like, wow, man, you understand it, you get it, you've been in the game long enough, you've been playing it, you've been multiplying it, and I don't know, I just feel like I need to say that because it's such a buzzword now.
It is. I'm glad you said that, because I was just talking to my buddy the other day, and I'm like, everyone that I know is becoming an entrepreneur, and I'm like, that's great, but I don't think all these people are actually going to be entrepreneurs. And they think, because we're in this digital world now and all they see is the highlight reels of everybody, they think that's what they want, right? But they don't understand anything that goes behind that. They think they can just flick on a Facebook ad or flip on an e-commerce store, flip on day trading, and they're going to have Lamborghinis and live in mansions in Boca Raton, Florida.
Yeah, and a lot of people lose everything.
Yeah, and they don't. Entrepreneurship is the biggest gamble there is. But I think after a while you can rig the game. And staying in the game will allow you to do that. But there's skills to learn to stay in the game, right? Yeah. As we've both experienced.
I talked to a guy the other day, man. I mean, I can't. He's built probably 8-figure companies. And he said something. He's like, listen, being a business owner, your only job is to stay in business another day. And it was really interesting because I'm like, well, you built all these, and he's had failures and stuff too. But I started thinking about that because I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think maybe in the beginning, you don't know enough. You don't have enough wisdom. You haven't fallen down enough. You suck. and you like think you're going to be like crazy good at it. And maybe some people strike gold fast and usually they can't keep it. But I think when you stay in the game long enough and you stay open another day and another day and another day and another year, and it's like you start getting wise. You start picking up on things. And consistency builds credibility. What I found in business that's really cool is like when people are watching, especially the guys farther along the road, wiser, more successful, and when they see, wow, like he made it a year. Oh, he made it 2 years. He improved. His product got better. His business got better. His brand grew. There's been a level for me now where I'm hitting, wow, Cody's been in the game for a while. I'm still a young guy, still doing my thing, but there's other people that have been watching that see my consistency of showing up, that I give it 100% even if it doesn't work out in the way I want. Not only do I get wiser, my credibility, and I'm just curious, like I want to hear you riff on this, has grown, which is opening doors that I never would have had the opportunity to open 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah. In the digital world, credibility is becoming harder and harder to get, I think, because there's so many wannabes out there. You know, you can build a fantastic website nowadays and you could be, you know, you could spend some couple $1,000s and you can be in the right places and be a perceived expert or perceived like you know what you're doing and you don't. But you could also, there's a lot of fantastic entrepreneurs that own multiple 8-figure companies that you can't even find their LinkedIn page.
And you have a social media.
Right? So for me, I kind of take it with a grain of salt, you know, who's showing, who's not, what kind of industry are you in? Do you need a show? Do you not? The marketing agency, I didn't have much out there, even as a marketing company. I still don't have a functioning website.
But you flow in paid traffic, not organic, right?
All of my marketing agency was organic for the longest time.
Okay.
So I didn't really need as much social proof and all the, you know, the websites and the full-blown social media. I didn't need that. You develop Sales Academy. Now I'm finding that there's big players in the space that I hold in high regard, and they're doing a lot of content. So for me, I always knew that.
You're talking like Cole Gordon?
Yeah. I don't want to just make content to make content and like match up with them, right? It will come when it comes, right? Right now, I'm going to do what got me here, and that's building relationships organically, and I'm going to learn through that process, right? If I go and turn into this social media influencer all over the internet, I think that would be taking me away from the main thing.
Yeah, always make the main thing the main thing.
Right, and so there'll be a time.
And it's strategy, too. Like, you know, for me, I just wanted to be a motivational speaker. And one of the things I came through that journey was nobody knows who I am, so therefore I'm not getting on stages. So it was like, oh, I need a personal brand. Oh, how do I build a personal brand? Yeah. Oh, put out videos every day. Okay. So it was like this path of following. Never thought I'd own a marketing company. Same as you, bro. It was just like, I made some money off of like my social media, and people were like, how did you do that? And I was like, well, let me show you how. And next thing you know, you're like teaching it, and then you're doing it for people.
Yeah, sure.
But no, I think that's cool, man. But I just, there was an opportune window, and maybe we're still in it a little bit, where anybody could portray whoever they want to be.
I think we're in it.
We're in it now. And maybe it's a quick way to get into the game and to be successful. But I will tell you this, if you cannot fulfill on what you were telling people you can do, you will burn bridges and you will burn your credibility.
See you later.
I've watched it, man. And it's funny, I've been in the game enough years now to watch people show up to the race and no longer show up to the race. And you start watching and you start hearing things and you start noticing. You're like, oh, yeah, you were posting every day on social media saying you were this and doing this, and I don't see you no more. Now you got a job at Chick-fil-A. You know, it's like interesting to watch over time goes on.
And the funny part is they know when they're saying all these things on social media, when they're posting all this stuff, posting fake case studies or whatever, they know what they're doing, and it will come back to them. So I don't even make a fuss about it. You know.
It's interesting though, but for me, it's like, authenticity is so big to me.
And you show it, man. Every time, every post on your social media, I know it's you. Like, you are coming from the right place with the right audience. There's going to be people that love your content. There's going to be people that don't, and you don't care.
Oh.
And that's why you're in the position.
And I appreciate that. And I'm not perfect, dude. Like, I actually, on this note, it's interesting. Greatest compliment I ever received was from a guy I look up to named Yost Jansen, former Navy SEAL, worked for the CIA, bodyguard Joe Rogan. I lived with him when I moved to California. He was a mentor, a friend. He challenged me, and just the discipline he has in his life. Like, living with a Navy SEAL, I did that for 2 years. I was shredded. Like, we worked out twice a day, CrossFit, like driven, made more money I've ever made in my business because I was exposed to that level of discipline and obedience. Greatest compliment he ever gave me, he was doing a Navy SEAL workout at this event, and it was rough, bro. And it was in Texas when that snowstorm hit a few years back, and we had to go out and do a mile of lunges on a rocky road. And dude, it was brutal, bro. Like, a mile of lunges alone is like, I don't even know how I'm going to do this or walk or whatever, let alone there's rocks on the ground and snow. And I just pushed through, and I went to this place in my head like Goggins, bro. Just like, I just wanted almost, maybe I did want to impress Yost. I don't know. But I know that when I got done, I didn't really realize that my knees were completely cut open. Blood was dripping down my shins. My socks were full of blood. And I finished. Then I went back to the guys that were a little heavier in the back, and I finished with them. And dude, I will say going back was a hard thing because I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go back and help them. My knees at that point were just not good. But I finished with them, and I earned his respect, and we got talking later that night, and he was like, one thing I like about you, he followed me on Instagram like 2 months before that event. And he's like, you're the same person in person that I see on social media. And that's rare. Biggest compliment in my life. But I will tell you this. One thing that recently bothered me, I'll be vulnerable on the podcast. I'll share it with you. I went and recently, I hung out with my girlfriend, hopefully soon to be fiance's sister. And I got the impression that they didn't feel like I am who I am on my social media. And that really challenged me recently. And maybe that's just a perspective from there or whatever, but I've really been thinking about that a lot lately and trying to make sure. I think sometimes we have to put ourselves in check. I think that even within that, it's very easy to drift away from that fully. Yeah. And that's something that like I'm very consciously aware of. And I talked to my girlfriend about it, and I don't want to ever be someone online that I'm not in real life. And if I'm ever going in that direction, I need you to tell me, because it can happen. Influence grows, things start happening. It's very easy to fall into that. And I just promised myself and God when I did this, I would never become that guy that's not real, because you can't connect with them. No. Dude, like, I got the same issues all you guys got.
Yeah, but that's you saying that and you believing that, and that being one of your core principles on why you do what you do, you'll be fine. And you'll always lead with you, right? Yeah. It's the people that don't check themselves at the door that allow that to happen, right? They start posting things that's not them, it's not them. And those are also same people that don't last very long. Yeah,
that's good, man. Appreciate you riffing on that with me. As we wrap up here, Chris, is there anything on your heart that we haven't talked about that you just have an opportunity to share right now with people that you want to impart into us?
There's a lot that I want to share with people. But I will say this, kind of going back to my story. No matter where you are, no matter where you came from, no matter what cards you were dealt, who your parents are, you're in control of your life, right? Like, we all have issues. We all have problems. But you got to find what makes you happy, what makes you fulfilled. Because when you live a life of genuine happiness and fulfillment, everything opens up, right? Everything opens up. Your circle opens up. Doors open up that you never thought were possible, right? Never thought were possible. And when you start to see those things open up, you become the best version of you. And it's what everyone wants. Everyone wants to be the best version of me today, with as much opportunity in front of me as possible, right? Living a life of true happiness and fulfillment. Anybody can attain that. That does not mean you need to be an 8-figure entrepreneur, right? But if that's the goal for people, which I haven't met someone that says, like, I don't want to be happy, I don't want to live a life of fulfillment, right? I don't want to be the best version of myself. Now it's about taking action. What are you going to do today that is going to get you closer to what that perceived person looks like, or life that is? And for me, every day I wake up with an obligation to, first and foremost, my family. My family is, gets me out of bed every day, right? But more than that, I want to impact people to be the best version of themselves. And for me, I can go to sleep at night knowing that I did everything today to move me closer to fulfilling that, right? And that's going to go into my next project with the foundation, with mental health and stuff. And you know, that's a conversation for another day. But that's but anyone that's listening, you know, I'll be the first one to admit I'm nothing special, but consistently day in and day out, I push further and further to try to get me closer to what I'm trying to do, and that's ultimately to change as many lives as possible.
Come on. That was so good. Well, all the way from Buffalo, New York, Chris, I appreciate you coming out to San Diego, coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, bro. I really appreciate it.
This was powerful, man. And just for everyone that watched this show, that listened to what Chris imparted to us, I just really encourage you on that last thing he said. You know, what are you doing today? What are you taking action on today to get you one step closer to that which you desire in your life? I think it's so easy to listen to a podcast like this, to be like, I really feel inspired by Chris and Cody right now. I want to do more. I want to be the best version of myself. I want to show up. I want to go for it. But the motivation fades. It's gone.
Yep.
Like, it's not going to last. Without action or implementation, this means nothing for you besides a make you feel good podcast. And that's my challenge for you guys. I would actually say, here's an action step. I don't always do this, but pull out a pen and paper. If you're driving, do it when you're done driving, and write down one action step that you're going to take today to move you closer to that which you desire in life.
Yep. And don't just do today.
Just today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about next year. Don't worry about the big $1 million. You want to make $1 million? Well, what can you do today to make some money? You know, stop worrying about $1 million.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, I appreciate you for tuning into the show. And I just want to say, as we wrap up here, you know, this show isn't done to make money. I don't monetize this. I finance the whole show. The one way that you could say thank you if you get value out of this is share this episode with somebody that you know would get value from it. If you guys haven't yet left us a review on Spotify or Apple, or went and subscribe to the YouTube channel, that's one way that helps us reach more people. And as always, make today great.